Welcome to Something to Wrestle With.
Welcome to Wrestle With.
Bruce Prichard. Well, you know.
This was taped, but it was still awesome. Bulldog beat Owen in the tournament finals to win the European title. Now, remember, they're the tag champs here, but now they've got to face each other, and it's happening in Europe, and Bulldog becomes the very first European champion. This is good stuff. I remember where I was watching this match. I remember like it was yesterday. Is this a Vince McMahon idea? Who's in favor of having a European champion? How does that belt come to be? What's the thinking in putting Owen and Bulldog in the finals?
Where were you when this happened?
I watched it at my home at 338 Pine Needle Trace in Gunnersville, Alabama. And I watched it upstairs in my room. And, I remember like the shot of this is much different. Like the way this was shot compared to a traditional Monday Night Raw. I don't know if that was because of the camera setup or the building setup, or there was just smoke in the arena, or the quality of the video wasn't as good, but the presentation was a little different from the way it was done here in the States.
And how old were you?
I would have been 15 years old. I would have turned 16 a few months later.
Holy cow. Well, the idea behind the European Championship was we were looking to do more international touring, and Vince wanted to have a championship that was unique to Europe, something that would be special, that could headline tours over there if you didn't have the champion, what have you. So it was just to create something different and create something for those European tours. And Vince felt that the logical person at that time was Davey Boy to be the first European champion. Now, as far as getting to the tournament and how we ended up with Owen and Bulldog was, again, you had mentioned it earlier, the dissension between Bulldog and Owen and the fact that they were tag team champions and brother-in-laws. Just thinking that this would be a good story, get them, go through the whole thing. And then it's like that what if moment, the two brother-in-laws facing off for the championship. And what's going to happen? Excellent match with the two guys, but it made you think, and it kept driving people to, they're going to do the split. This is where it's going to happen. They're going to do the blow up, and it never happens. So it was a way to create a new championship, to help us on our international tours. And as far as doing the whole Owen Bulldog deal, continue that story of what if, and put more equity in the tag team champions.
I guess what I wanted to know is like the actual belt. We know I'm a belt nerd. This European title just sort of shows up out of thin air, and it's not a Reggie Parks made belt. How does the design, and I mean, this belt just all of a sudden shows up? It's pretty unique too, because I think it's like green on one side and red on the other. It's a different looking belt.
Well, we had recently looked at redesigning all of the championships. So they put it out to different vendors, and J-Mar was chosen. He wasn't the only one. I know Reggie bid on it as well, but they were looking for, some different looks, creative services, did the drawings. Vince picked which ones he liked, and we were off to the races. But I think it was during the same time that we redesigned the Intercontinental Championship. And, I don't know if we did we may have done the tag team titles then at that time too.
I feel like we should, talk about belts like a whole episode sometime. Let's keep going here. Let's get to WrestleMania 13. Owen and Davey Boy would retain the tag titles, go into a double count out with Vader and Mankind. And it's 2.5 stars. I guess what's weird about this to me is, why do you have two heel tag teams in a match here? Who booked this shit?
I booked that shit. Why not? You take two big tough bastards with Vader and Mankind, and they're managed by Paul Bearer, against the evil genius of Jim Cornette with Owen Hart and Davey Boy Smith. it was unique, and it was something that you wouldn't expect, and for people to say, why the hell are you booking this shit? But it was also something, why wouldn't you book it when you look at the team of Vader and Mankind? Because that's somebody that you could believe could be the tag team champions. So it could happen.
On the March 31st Raw, we see Bulldog versus Owen open up the show for the European title. They go about 14 minutes, and after a rep bump, Brett comes out and breaks the two of them up and does a lengthy interview blaming the American wrestling fans for breaking up their family. Of course, it ends with all three of these guys hugging, and they reform the Hart Foundation. Pretty amazing the run these guys are about to go on. How did these guys feel about being put back together?
God, they loved it. I think it was, you can liken it to a happy family reunion. And I think that Brett really, really enjoyed being back with Owen. That dynamic, but being on the same time or on the same side now and not being against each other. The dynamic was there. They were family, and you felt it. They worked great together as a team, and it was a way to bring that whole Hart Foundation. And we fell into that, man. That was a happy accident. That wasn't something that we laid out in advance. But when you started getting those reactions from people, and in Canada and America, we fell into some great storytelling there.
Let's get to In Your House Taker's Revenge. It goes down on April 20th. The LOD would beat the tag champs by DQ, 3/4 of a star. Was everybody sort of excited about LOD being back, or was it something where, I mean, their entire run here in 97 is just kind of a mess?
We were excited. We were excited because of the reputation and just the legend of LOD. However, it wasn't the LOD of old. It was unfortunately just old LOD, and they weren't fitting with the new group of talent that we had.
Let's talk about, what's next, because it feels like this is something we could spend a lot of time on if we really dedicated it to a Hart Foundation episode, but I'm going to bounce around a little bit. The April 28th show ends with Undertaker and Bulldog, and the end of the match, we see Austin attack Brett, who's in a wheelchair after knee surgery, and Neidhart returns to the company and attacks Austin. And we're sort of off to the races here, where Steve Austin's working with Bulldog the very next week. And then through all the house shows, we see lots of stuff with Austin and different various members of the Hart Foundation, including, of course, Bulldog. Let's get to King of the Ring 97, where we've got Owen Hart and Jim Neidhart and Davey Boy Smith taking on Psycho Sid and Legion of Doom. And the Hart Foundation actually get the win here. And Owen will get credit in the Observer for carrying the match to a 1 3/4 match. This is really when you guys are just getting heated up. Of course, this is June. We know what's coming in July. By this point, you guys really know you have something with the Hart Foundation, and it's time to put them over as top guys, right?
Well, and the beautiful thing about it is you could put anybody from that entire Hart Foundation group against anybody that came from America, and you had instant heat and you had an instant match. So it was simple booking, and it worked. It was working. It was a hell of a patriotic, good feeling on both sides of the border.
On the way here, you've got Undertaker working with Bulldog, and of course Undertaker would win, but every other time Bulldog's winning, whether it means he's beaten Mankind or he's beaten Sid. We know what happens at the Calgary pay-per-view, the Canadian Stampede. It's available in our archives. A tremendous match, arguably one of the best matches that you'll see on a WWF pay-per-view. Just a tremendous show. It gets 4 1/4 stars. The crowd makes it. But there's a string of really great matches in 97 in the WWF. But if you took out the WrestleMania match with Austin and Brett, and you took out the Hell in a Cell with Undertaker and Shawn, this is probably the best match of the year, is it not?
Well, not only that, I think it is probably one of the best cards of the year as well, from top to bottom, and the energy and the stories behind it. Yes, It was that damn good. And that's one that you have to go out of your way to go back and watch just to feel the energy of that night.
The next night, man, they are cooking with gas in Edmonton. Vince introduces Bret to this very ring. Of course, he's wearing an Edmonton Oilers jersey underneath his leather jacket, a hero's welcome. He does the whole America love it or leave it promo. He's putting over Canada in a big way here, man. And the crowd is eating it up. And one by one, he introduces all the members of the Hart Foundation. Of course, eventually Steve Austin comes out of nowhere, destroys the whole thing. And, the crowd is just white hot for this. When is this when you guys realized, man, we have got to double down on this, America, Canada angle?
Boy, just the whole way getting into this, everywhere we went, it was just that feeling of patriotism, no matter where the hell you were, and feeling this when you've got the hero Stone Cold and they're booing the shit out of him because of the country and where they are. Magic, just magic.
On the July 14th Raw, the Hart Foundation actually start giving stipulations for all their matches, where Bret says if he loses the world title, he'll never wrestle in the United States again. And Owen says if Austin loses, then he's going to have to kiss his ass at SummerSlam. Bulldog says if he doesn't beat Shamrock, he'll eat a can of dog food. Pillman talks about the dress thing with Goldust. It's just one thing after another, including Jim Neidhart saying if anybody of the Hart Foundation squad loses, he'll shave his goatee off the very next night. Why all these stipulations? Who was a big fan of, let's go out here and sort of draw the line in the sand and I'll make promises?
God damn, if a match doesn't have a stipulation, nobody gives a fuck. There was so much going on with the Hart Foundation in America and us versus them. Yeah, I think we might have overstipulated a little bit. You think?
Yeah, it certainly feels that way, but either way, we know what happens. We'll get there in just a minute though. We've got, a flag match on the July 21st Raw. It's Bulldog, Owen, and Bret beating Austin, Love, and Undertaker. Bret grabs Canada's flag, of course, to win the match. The next week in Pittsburgh, Shamrock and Bulldog have an arm wrestling match, and Bulldog headbutts Shamrock, destroys him with the chair, and pours dog food all over him. What the fuck is this dog food shit? Where'd you guys get the dog food?
And dog food is us.
Is this when Russo's starting to book some?
What year are we here? Maybe a little
1997.
bit, but no, this was still some of us. Hey, back in the day, eating dog food matches were over.
Over with who?
Oh, the crowd. That was a big deal, man. The loser has to eat dog food.
SummerSlam.
JYD, big shit, man.
August 3rd. I'm sure you do have a big shit after you eat dog food. SummerSlam, August 3rd, 1997. Davey Boy retains by DQ, star and 3/4. It's sort of a weird deal where Shamrock bleeds from the mouth, apparently from a stiff clothesline. That's according to the Observer. Smith threw dog food on Shamrock again, which caused him to go wild. He hit Smith with the dog food can outside the ring for the DQ. And then eventually, Patterson and Briscoe and all those guys come in and everybody gets suplexes. How did Bulldog like working with Ken Shamrock?
I don't know that Bulldog enjoyed it as much as everybody else. Bulldog was a worker, and Kenny could be snug, and Kenny would go out there, and man, I think Davey liked it to be a little bit lighter than Shamrock was at times. And, I don't know that they really loved working together that much.
Let's keep rolling here. At the end of August, Bulldog is successfully defending the European title on a lot of house shows against Mankind and Dude Love.